in love with the blue and black colorway of the Rolex GMT Master 2, but you're looking for a more affordable alternative and a watch that truly doesn't look like anything else in the market, then this Ball Roadmaster Marine GMT Ceramic may be the watch for you. The watch retails for $3,200 and it's limited to 1,000 pieces. Here's something that took me by surprise. You see, I hit up my friends over at GQ Jewelers and asked them to let me borrow this watch. So they did. I received the watch, shot the B-roll, and it wasn't until I started doing the research on the specs that I realized the entire case and bracelet were constructed of titanium. I've handled titanium watches before, but due to the lightweight and lack of shimmer, I've never really been a fan. The Ball Watch Company really stepped it up with this one. In my opinion, the watch has a lot going for it, but it's by no means perfect. Let's quickly cover the specs and I'll tell you the positives and the negatives. The entire watch with the incised bracelet weighs in at 159 grams. The case measures in at 40 millimeters, is 14 millimeters thick, and it's 47.8 millimeters from lug to lug. In between the lugs, 20 millimeters, and the watch is water resistant to 200 meters. Protecting the dial, we find a sapphire crystal with an anti-reflective coating. And one of the first negatives I'll point out is that the ends of the bracelet don't articulate. Therefore, from one male link to the other, it measures in at 57.4 millimeters. The entire watch is crafted beautifully and its design doesn't immediately jump out at me as an homage. Sure, the black and blue bezel look very much like the Rolex GMT Master 2, but even the hue of blue used is not the same. The unidirectional Lume 120 click ceramic bezel is easy to grip thanks to those notches, and the click sound feels very precise, but this dive style bezel does have a little bit of backplay. The case has a very refined brushed look to it that almost resembles a bead blast finish. The darker hue of course comes from the actual titanium. Nonetheless, we find some bevels in the bottom section of the bezel has been polished. The attention to detail is there for sure. Although this is a dive watch, there are no crown guards to protect the signed screw down 6.9mm crown. This is an interesting design choice since the watch seems a little off balance given that on the left hand side of the case we have those GMT pushers. I'm all for a watch not having crown guards as it gives the watch a cleaner, more vintage aesthetic, but in this case I think those guards would have balanced out the case. The bracelet is almost entirely finished in the same way the case was, with the exception of the center links that have been polished. Just like most of the company's bracelets, this reminds me of a Patek Nautilus. It uses screws to size it. Opening the butterfly clasp is somewhat hard and the edges do feel a little sharp, but thanks to the 20mm lugs, finding aftermarket straps should be pretty easy. The dial is black and is finished great. Under macro, I really couldn't find any imperfections. I'm a fan of the Ball logo and I think not using the logo as a counterweight on the seconds hand on this model was the right choice. The polished hands play well with the light and the subtle blue GMT hand plays well with the bezel color. On the right hand side we find a date complication that can be changed with a crown that you adjust the hours and minute hands with. The little details like the 60-minute track below the rehot are very clean. I'll tell you what's not clean, it looks very much bunched up, the text at the 12 o'clock. I mean, did they really have to put 5 lines of text there? I understand why they didn't put it at the 6 o'clock, but that looks pretty crammed in there. So why didn't they put that text at the 6 o'clock, you may ask? Well, this watch is a pretty cool party trick, a night and date indicator that can be activated via the GMT pushers. In my opinion, that's pretty cool. One thing I was excited about was the Lume. You see, Ball uses micro gas tubes with tritium and it can be found on the hour, minute, second, and GMT hand. And of course, this is for easy reading capabilities in any condition, really. And also they apply superluminova on the bezel. So at first glance, the lume on the bezel is way brighter than the tubes, but it eventually fades away. But the luminescent material on those tubes glow 24/7. Not very bright, and I've been vocal about it in my previous review. However, I do think it's cool that the numbers are legible anytime, anywhere. On the caseback, we find an exhibition caseback, and through it we find the heart of this watch, an officially certified chronometer automatic Ball manufactured GMT caliber, the RR1203C. In essence, it's a modified ETA 2893-2 with an in-house GMT module that allows a unique pusher configuration as well as a date complication. According to Ball, this is the first GMT with a date complication. The caliber has a quick set functionality that lets you easily change the GMT hand with a push of those pushers located on the left hand side of the case. The GMT hand is completely unaffected while the seconds hand continues to move, giving you uninterrupted precision. Something interesting to note is that the GMT hand jumps in 1 hour increments. The date functionality do not change with it, so just be mindful of that. The movement beats at 28,800 beats per hour, 4 Hz, has a power reserve of 38 hours, and it's anti-magnetic to 60 Gauss. These specs sound great to me, and I personally have never heard anything negative about Bezel's calibers. Although I find those GMT pushers very easy to interact with, I really dislike them. I don't like them at all, and that to me is the biggest reason I personally would never own this watch. I think they need to rework the look of those pushers so the watch looks more symmetrical. The watch on my 6 7/8 inch wrist is a little on the bigger side, and honestly for a titanium watch it feels a little heavy. I didn't get the chance to size the bracelet out of respect for whoever buys this watch from GQ Jewelers. I'm sure that would have made obviously the watch lighter and more wearable. Another negative for me is the thickness. I mean, if Rolex can get their watch down to 12.1 millimeters, there's no reason this watch should be 14 millimeters thick. Look, the watch is well constructed, but I had a hard time connecting with it. This is the second ball watch I review, and something about their design language simply doesn't do it for me. However, that doesn't mean this is a bad watch. In the contrary, the construction is definitely there. So if this design of watch floats your boat, go for it. Let me know what you think about this model and the Ball watch company as a whole. I have the opportunity to review other models. I'll be curious to know if you guys would be interested in that. As always, I appreciate you. Be safe out there and stay humble.